organization was research oriented, and in 2018 we decided to take up a challenge that many organizations usually run away from, and that challenge was to conduct an ethnographic research. And that research methodology requires that we move into a community and live with them for a period of 6 weeks, and we got all of the information firsthand. So at this point, thank you once again for coming. I acknowledge the presence of the WASA, Water Aid, and the area council. Some have said they are already on their way, and then the media. And to all of us, community people and members who have supported the work of Hip City at one point or another, I say welcome. So, on behalf of my team, permit me to call on our big partner, the Henry Bull Foundation, as I call on Mr. Johan to give us his opening remark. Johan, please.
My name is Johan, as Basi just has pointed out. I'm the head of the Heinrich Böll Foundation here in Abuja. The Heinrich Böll Foundation is a German political foundation. We are affiliated to the Green Party in Germany. And as part of our work in Nigeria, we do have a component that is called Democracy at Work, through which we support various civil society organizations to hold political institutions and actors to account for more transparency and accountability in governance, so that governance works in favor of the public good. And it's in that context that we've been working with Basi and his team at Hip City since 2018. And since then they, as Asias has just pointed out, worked in various communities to do exactly that. Look at what the problems are, analyze them through the eyes of the people, and then start to put processes in place to engage government players that are responsible to address some of these issues and bring them in, hold them to account, but also find collective solutions. And it points to a very important level of governance, which is all too often overlooked, which is local government. It's, in my view, an incredibly important level of intervention, as it is at the coalface between government and people. And it's incredibly important if we talk about day-to-day service delivery, but also many of the basic infrastructures that some of us take for granted, but many other people don't have access to. And it's also, in this context that Basi, as this documentary attests to, have employed, I think, a very innovative and good methodology, which is these community charters that are or have been developed together with the communities to really unearth, okay, what are the issues that people face on a day-to-day basis, and how best can they be addressed, and who should be addressed to solve these issues. And also, as Basi has pointed out, it wasn't just a successful workshop and paper exercise, but it actually has led to real changes on the ground. For example, with regards to that primary healthcare facility, schools, and in some other instances. Keeping all sections of society engaged in the debate on governance in such ways, I think, will be crucial to maintain and further build the pressure needed to ensure that all voices and citizens, as well as their demands, aspirations, and needs, are heard in the democratic process that then hopefully delivers positive development outcomes. And that's why I believe, this work is incredibly important, and I'm very glad to see that Basi wish them all the best in their continued growth this year, which builds on the previous efforts from last year and the years before. And I hope we will all have an interesting exchange here today as to what else could be done in order to make democracy and government work better for the people that are most in need of it. Thank you very much.
Rural water supply and sanitation agencies of the area councils, members of the press, civil society partners, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you warm greetings from Waterloo, Nigeria. I'd like to commend Hip City Innovation Center for their unelected efforts working at grassroots level and contributing to amplifying the voices of citizens in demanding for water services and good governance. WaterAid's theory of change is hinged on a tripod of strengthened and coordinated government institutions providing sector leadership to deliver services effectively, enabling people-centric responses where people negotiate and claim their rights, and sector actors working in partnership to ensure better access to sustainable water, sanitation, and hygiene services. Hence, the idea and essence of this video documentary, Echoes of the People, rings true to heart. Sustainable development is impossible without an engaged citizenry, actively negotiating and claiming their rights from duty bearers and holding them to account. It was based on this same theory that WaterAid embarked on an electoral advocacy initiative, our Vote for Wash campaign, which leveraged on the country's last two general elections to educate and empower citizens to demand for the actualization of their water, sanitation, and hygiene rights from duty bearers. The last edition of the campaign recorded significant successes with 120 signed pledge cards from electoral aspirants committed to prioritize water and sanitation in voting into power. However, experiences has shown us that many campaign promises have been largely unfulfilled and without clear and convincing plans for their actualization. In order to hold elected officials to account for the campaign promises that they made, we launched a 4-year post-electoral advocacy campaign, which is targeted at empowering citizens to use the media and other accountability platforms to follow up with their elected officials and demanding for transparent and accountability governance and to influence reforms in the water and sanitation sector. It's quite an exciting thing to see communities holding their leaders to account and using scorecards to measure their performance. We recognize that development is impossible without good governance and strong institutions that can be held accountable to deliver their roles and mandates. Empowering duty bearers and strengthening their capacity to deliver on their promises is a key part of the citizens' engagement approach. And for this, we want to sincerely thank Henry Cole Foundation for supporting this process and the Hip City Innovation Center for not just advocating for improved water, sanitation, and hygiene access, but also for promoting citizen engagement to deliver on sustainable wash services. I'm delighted to be here and I look forward to fruitful and mutual beneficial deliberations. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, WaterAid. At this point, permit me to also call the representative of FCT RWASA. RWASA means Rural Water Supply Sanitation Agency. We started working with RWASA in 2019, late 2019, early 2020, and we're still working together to ensure that communities within the FCT attain ODF status. ODF means Open Defecation Free status. At the moment, no community, not even within the Federal Capital City, is open defecation free. So if you move around some parts of this Wuse 2, you still find people defecating in the open. And that's one of the things that FCT UWASA is working with other partners to ensure that we get at least one community in the FCT ODF status. So permit me to call on the representative right now.
Good morning, all. I'm Mrs. Obrike, and I'm the head of water supply in Ruwasa. But this morning I'm here to represent my executive director, Dr. Mohammed Dan Hassan, to present this goodwill message to us. I'll be standing on the existing protocols, and I'll begin to say that I'm happy to be in your midst this morning to deliver this goodwill message at this documentary. It has been realized, unlike in the time past, that one of the ways of making our projects and development sustainable is by employing local governance. By this I mean governance to the grassroots level. It is clear that when we execute projects and developments for the people without letting them own and even manage the projects, those projects are hardly sustainable.
Within Abuja, there is a lot of poverty, and there's also a divide between the have and have not. And this is why our organization, HIP City Innovation Center, has come to bridge this gap by giving back power to the people, by making the people understand that they actually have a voice and they can demand of their elected representative. Through our work in many of these communities, we have seen how people, especially women and children, suffer to trek distance, kilometers, to access education. We have seen in many of these communities that the people do not have access to basic primary health care. We have also seen in many of these communities that people have to drink from surface waters that are contaminated and most times shared with animals. These are part of the reasons why we have decided to have this documentary titled Echoes of the People. So actually make the people air out what their grievances are and also what their needs are. And by doing this, we hope that all of this would stir up a conversation in the polity where the elected and the governed would come together to work out these differences. And then that people can, at this point in time, be happy to be members of the Nigerian state and be able to pay their tax joyfully, such that development would not just be seen as something that is about the government and while the people stay by themselves.
We are going out of work, but up to now, we didn't see any change in this. We got many letters to the area council. I will complete to them. Then we send people to come and see this village to say that they are going to give us light for clinic, but up to now, we didn't see anything like that.
Okay. Welcome back. We have seen the documentary, so we'll allow it sink in for a few minutes before we take some reactions. But before we go further and also have a panel conversation, permit me to welcome the community leader of Rije. Yes, so the story around Rije is quite, it's saddening. You can imagine a community whose land has been taken over by big corporations and they have all fenced their farms. You know, they say Uje is the food basket of Abuja, right? Yeah. So all of the big corporations, or the big farms rather, have bought over their land without any of their input, no consultation, just sitting down, and then one day somebody comes into the community and say, hey, this is my land. You guys should move away. Sometimes no consultation, no compensation, nothing at all. And the people are at the verge of losing their ancestral land. It's that bad. It's that bad. And we hope that what we started today would give us the voice, and with all of you in this room, that we can really call out the government and the area council, FCTA, to look into these issues. Okay? While all of this is sinking in, let me also seize this opportunity to recognize the media outfits that help us tell this story better. Playhouse. Thank you. So, Playhouse Media did this fine documentary that we have just watched. They followed us all through. And history will judge me fairly if I fail to appreciate my team members at HCT Innovation Center. Sometimes going to some of this community can be really scary. You're driving into communities and you can't find any road behind you, but you just keep forging. Sometimes you have to park your vehicle and take bikes, and you're on the bike for over 30 minutes, 45 minutes, assessing some of these hinterland. It's really challenging, and it takes a lot of passion for my team to do the kind of work that we do, because it's really risky. In Kujako, just recently, one of the communities that we worked in, their community chief was kidnapped. So, God forbid that it was one of those days that we also went into the community and they came. Maybe I would be calling out to some of us to crowdfund for my ransom. But this is the reality that we face in the kind of work that we do. So we're just going to take some minutes, have a musical interlude, and then we would give room for audience conversation. All right? Thank you. So, thank you. We've seen this documentary, and in the next few minutes we'll set up a panel conversation. But at this time, I just want to have feedbacks about the documentary. You've seen the documentary. Is there something you want to say, or there's something bothering you? And I see that a lot of people are already edgy. I think that was still within time. We said 10 to 1, and we will keep to our time. We're very diligent with time, so we'll keep to our time. But at this time, if we have any feedback in the room, we'll be happy to take it. If you want to speak on some of these issues, please just raise your hand and I will bring the mic to you. Okay.
Greetings to you all. I'm Daniel Jonathan from Kujako. One of the things that is touching about what I was going here is the issue of the water. Honestly, it's a thing of concern concerning this very community. Having this type of water, people are drinking it. And to my saying, it's like the water is not moving. And if a harmful substance is being put into this very kind of water and people take it, it will cause havoc to the community. So I think if there is anything government can do with the help of the Kyiv City Center organization, I think it will help to supply more water for this very community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Being here is a privilege for me. The echo of the people, the documentary, what I just saw, is something that we really need to look into, because this is about life. I saw a lot of things. water, bad road, a lot of things, you know, in the community they are not normal. But most times, you see our government, that's when they source out votes, but still they cannot give it out to the people. So I think it's something that in Deep City Innovation Center, I think they did a very good job. And I think we all should carry these things to everyone. Everybody should be aware. We should be advocates. We should advocate for this so that the government will really listen to us. Because seriously, the government are very far from us. We need the government to come close to us. When people begin to touch the government, like touch the government, feel the government, that's where we talk about change. That's where we talk about transformation. So this is a very good, kick-off for us as people who are residents of different communities or have relatives and loved ones in the communities. We should take it serious because 2023 is coming. They will also come back to deceive us.
I'm just trying to gather my thoughts on what I saw on the documentary. So it's not just enough to ask for water. It's not enough to ask for light. It's not enough to ask for road. But Deep City Innovation Center was able to shine a light on the fact that most of these communities already have existing water that has been set, but there was no structure of maintenance. And that was something I was able to note. Because we have a project where we work in the grassroots too, but we've been pushing for the basic amenities that these communities will have, but we have not been setting up structures to have this conversation on how those things that are set can be maintained. We noticed that some of the boreholes were there from 2012, 2019, and they've stopped working. Light transformers, nobody's saying anything about that. So it's not enough to just ask for these things, but we also have to start a conversation on how they can be maintained. So thanks to Deep City Innovation shining the light on that. Thank you.
I'm from Initiative for Education and Development. I came quite late, but a wonderful working city has done here this afternoon. But my question or concern is, so a lot of things we've talked about, or the echoes of the people, the issues and everything. The solution, yes, there's a lot that CSOs can do, but the major solution lies with government. So I want to ask, so how are we becoming innovative in getting these messages across to those who can really solve it? Beyond gathering here and discussing these issues, what are the innovative ways you are thinking of bringing those who can bring solutions? I keep quiet, I don't actually government, some of the government officials are here that can really see these things and go back. So my concern is, there's a lot, IPSI has done so much and we keep doing so much at the grassroots level. How are we becoming innovative in passing this message across to those who can really provide a solution? Thank you.
One person cannot change the world. Okay, so it's about what can we do, all right? We have done a bit by amplifying the issues, and we don't just stop at amplifying the issues. We engage with government. There's Ruasa in the room, and we have engaged with the other 6 area councils. But there's also, engagement can never be too much. So if I'm pressuring government on this particular issue from this angle, and you're also pressuring them from your own angle, we're all pressuring them and demanding, okay? We keep them on their toes. But when this person goes out to shout and ask for change, and it's just him shouting, doesn't make a lot of sense. But if we all pull together our strength, okay, there's so much that we can achieve, there's so much we can do. Like I said, the area council elections are just by the corner. I'm sure you've seen them with their branded cars and all of that. As CSOs, as community people, what conversations are we having? Okay? How do we ensure that what happened in 2019 or 2018 doesn't repeat again in 2022? That's what we should be asking for. And the media is here. They are a great ally, a great partner. Okay? Whenever you have the media behind a cause, you're sure that they would help shape the narrative, shape the discourse, and that is why we also have the media in the room. The government might not be sitting here, but they actually listen, they watch the news, they read the newspaper, so they would get this information. Okay, like I said, we don't intend to keep anyone here beyond 1 p.m. So at this time, we would set up the panel, and I would be moderating that panel conversation. At some point, we'll also take questions from the audience if there are any questions to be targeted at them. Who is the programs manager at the Heinrich Böll Foundation? And I feel that this panel will be complete if we don't have a community person. So, Mr. Samuel, could you help us with one chair? So I would invite Shuaibu from the Igwe community. Okay, so I would start with Mr. Kulu from budget. I'm sure some of us have heard the name budget before. We do everything budget. So, Mr. Kulu, we've heard about all of these gaps in terms of infrastructural deficit at communities. And we know that everything starts and ends with the budget. Yes. So how, with the work that you do at budget, how do you think local government can be more proactive in terms of budgeting, and how can the budgeting processes become more inclusive and participating?
So let me just go at the table. Okay, so let me put the mic here. Good afternoon. Well done, Basit. Guy with the double name. So, looking at budgets, it's an interesting topic. But then the major thing is there's still that gap between the citizens and what is budgeted for them. Now, let's bridge the gap now. So, AMAC, for example, is budgeting X, Y, Z. But the people living in community A, B, C, do they know what has been budgeted for them? That's one part. Now, a road is bad. What is that community also doing to engage AMAC? So the question I would say is, or I will ask people, do you pay your taxes? Are you paying enough? So you might pay little, but then you feel that it's my money, you don't need to disturb them, so you allow them. But then, if you're paying taxes, maybe you have 4 cars or 2 cars, and you're paying tax on those cars. Maybe you have a phone and there's a way you're also paying taxes on that phone. Whatever thing you own, maybe electronics, and you're paying taxes. So I'm just putting an overview on we paying through our noses. That is when we begin to hold government accountable. Now let's leave that part. If corruption wants to start, it starts with budget. It simply means that whatever moves from budget to procurement, that's to be what's budgeted for. Budget is a law. It is not just an ordinary document, it is a law. So it's called, before it is passed, it is called appropriation bill. Once it is passed, it becomes an appropriation law. So it simply means that it's a law, it's binding, it's a legal document. And so, if we don't engage AMAC or every other municipal or area councils on what to budget for us, it simply means that they will just decide on our own behalf. Now, which takes me to inclusive budgeting. So I went through the agenda that you have and I saw the Charter of Demand, which is a fantastic thing. But then, the Charter of Demand is incomplete if we don't have government officials when you are collating that document. Or because at the end of the day, you're getting this thing on behalf of the people and you're submitting it to the government or the area council. major thing is, if these guys are also there to witness what you have witnessed in terms of the needs of the people, then it's easier for them to be able to also reason along the same direction of whatever you've put there for them. Now, thank God for technology. When I was doing the documentary, I know, is it the PAMSEC? Yeah, so the chief press secretary was saying something around they're using social media to communicate with the people. What about the offline engagement? What about town hall meetings? What about these consultative meetings and where you can get the needs of the people? Now, let's use the online. Most people in AMAC are educated. And for those that are educated, can you put the budget online so that they can easily access the budget and be able to see projects that aligns with their own community and begin to engage the government on that?
Both in terms of inclusion, in terms of participation, and then in terms of capital project. We have identified all of these gaps. But going forward, the elections are just around the corner. What kind of organizations like yourself as a donor organization do to inspire communities to take up this challenge that face them or that stares them in the face to say, oh, this is our problem, election is here, or we need to change it. But sometimes we know that it's a bit difficult for someone who is hungry to reject some of these things. So, but what can donor organizations like yourself do, working with either CBOs in the community or working with other national NGOs like ourselves, to ensure that community people, at least in this present time, stand up to these people to say, we really don't want any of the things that you're offering us, or maybe we can even take it, but this is what we're demanding at this time.
Thank you, Basi. I think first of all, before even being a part of an organization, I'm first of all a Nigerian, and I think one of the things I like most about this work is putting a human face behind the numbers, behind everything, really knowing that there are people behind it. And the truth is, you can't know, you don't know where the foot pinches until you wear it, and this applies also to the government. So you cannot tell what the government is also feeling until you sit with the government. And that's why one of the things that we've also tried to do, it's also realize that the government is also a person. And an average politician in Nigeria is an investor. He invests to get into the office. So when he gets into the office, he needs to get his investment. And he invests because people are also taking from him, basically. So what do I mean taking from him? Before he goes to election, he tells you, I want to become so chairman, whether what chairman or councillor, and he comes to the chief, or he comes to you and says, come and support me. And then he tells you his vision. Now let's assume this person is a good politician. Okay? Let's assume this is the politician and he's a good man. And he wants to put school in our village and hospitals, and he comes to meet me and says, this is his vision. I want school to be in our village. I want our girls to have access to health. And when he's telling me, I'm thinking, I'm hungry. And then I'm thinking, hey, I like your dream, but give me money to buy bread first. And he doesn't have money to give me bread. But he wants me to listen. So what it means is we need to force ourselves to grow above our hunger. I need to be able to agree with him and say, yes, I think what you are doing is good. And I don't tell him to give me money first. Because the minute I put that pressure on him to give me money, if he cannot, and I know Basi that just wants to come in as a politician and take everything, he has money, he can afford to give me money, and I'll eat my bread, and Basi would not give me anything. I don't have a future. That has always been our problem, our dilemma, is that we need to choose between our hunger today and our future tomorrow and those of our children. Politicians are investing. Would you invest? Or are you going to be interested in the issue or the vision? All of us, we are either Christian or Muslims, yeah? When you go to mosque, what does the imam tell you, or what does the pastor tell you? Is he selling a vision for you, or is he just making you feel good? So, first of all, we need to be able to stretch out ourselves to ask more deeper questions. What kind of life do I want for my children? When I looked at this book, there's a part of the report that says that 48% of Nigerians cannot afford 720 naira, 500 naira note and 200 naira note, 700. 78% of our people cannot afford it. What it means is that 78% of Nigeria cannot afford 3 apples. This apple, or tin of milk, or sardine. It's a big problem. It is a big problem. So, first of all, what we need to do, and the government cannot be everywhere. She's Rwasa. She's not omnipresent. She's not God. Even if you give her juju, she cannot know what is happening in your village. And even if she knows, I'm sure in their office they don't have more than 200 trucks or 200 cars to drive to every village. So what I'm saying is, even the government needs help. We may not like it, but it's the truth, because they are humans. They cannot know what is happening in your village if you don't come and tell them. So a lot of time we sit down in our own small pocket and say, government wicked, government no send us. Have you made one effort by reaching the government and telling the government, this is our problem? If your ward chairman does not act, have you tried even reaching the local government chairman? If the local government chairman does not act, have you even tried sending a letter even to the ministries or the agencies? At least let them know first. And as a government, even if you cannot do everything because you are not God, even if they give us the work of God, none of us will want that because it's too much. But even as the government, even if you cannot do anything, just listen and say, I have heard you. I will try my best. And if you cannot do it, tell the people you can't, or this is your problem. So the biggest problem for us, which an organization like our own would always want to do, is bring people together just to talk. The discussion does not necessarily have to bring solution, but let us even listen to each other. Tell me what is in your heart, I'll tell you what is in my heart. I'll tell you my problem, and you'll tell me your problem. The problem with our country today is we don't talk to each other. The government is not talking, community is not talking, so there's a big gap. And once you're not communicating, there's always mistrust. Once you're not communicating, there's suspicion. My best friend is a Muslim. So this Salman. In fact, if I count 3 or 4 of my friends, all of them are Muslims. And I know, because I've seen their behavior, I know that I'm Christian, but I know that those people, they are more Christians than me, even if they are Muslims, because they obey everything that Christ has said and everything. But you see, if we don't come close, I would never know that person. I'll be suspicious of that person. And the same thing is what happens with government. You would never know what is in the budget until you get close to the government chairman. You will never know what is in the budget until you meet Rwasa. You will never know if your community is supposed to have borehole. Without meeting Rwasa and say, our borehole is bad or we don't have any water, please come and give us, I'm inviting you, come. And then if Rwasa cannot do anything, then organizations like PASI or Budget or the other organizations can come to us and say, oh, so communities are coming to meet us and they need support. So organizations like ours, what we will do is we'll support policies like water aid. Can we get policies that would help local governments to be more open? We will support local governments and people like Rwasa. For instance, Rwasa can actually develop a database to get how many communities in Abuja do not have water, how many water do they need? And then Rwasa can say, okay, how do we get funding? Because Rwasa as an agency should not just depend on allocation or donor give us money. Rwasa should be able to choose to become more innovative. How can we get more access to funding? There are a lot of crowdfunding platforms in Germany and the rest of them. So Rwasa can approach organizations like ours, Water Aid, or other organizations to say, okay, look, can you train 5 or 6 or 7 of our staffs in accessing funding for water projects for communities? So we will now say, okay, look, where are those places where we have funds that they can do crowdfunding and support projects, where we can do water projects? Those kind of supports can be given. We can do a baseline. Okay, where are those communities where they don't have water? Can we even do that small statistics and see them? We can put that together. For local governments, for people to come close to you, your doors need to be open. So there's need for accountability, there's need for transparency. In fact, local government, apart from maybe Abuja, but a lot of local government will say we cannot give people what they want because we don't have local government autonomy. And me, I'm one of those people that would say, don't give local government autonomy until they show that they have mechanisms for accountability, transparency. No institution, not at federal, not at state, and local governments have accountability. They are not accountable to anybody. They are not transparent. 95% of, from one of these reports, over 95% of local government don't have websites. Their social media account, I'm sure if you check it there, maybe if they post to January, the next post you'll see is July. And it's free. Websites they don't have. So what organizations, donor organizations can do is, first of all, let's start to work close with government. Let's understand what is your problem, what is your challenge, how can we be different? We need to change the way we do things. And then for communities, see, Nigeria on our own. Leave all those pastors and all those people that are telling you look for option B. If it happens, them and their family already have great passports. They can travel abroad. We don't have that money. We cannot travel. ISO will travel to Ghana, and Ghana will chase us back to Nigeria. So this is our own country. We don't have anywhere to go to. So as people, we need to be more conscious. That one you're standing on, tell yourself, this is my own. You need to be able to, we need to be conscious about it, that we don't have anywhere to go. If cattle herders, Abi, and farmers, they are always fighting, is the answer, let us drive all the cattle herders away? We need to find it, because we still need their meat now. We still need meat. We still need cow. We still need suya. We even need the manure from the cow. We need the urine from the cow. So we need to start to force ourselves to think, how do we create a model that both the Fulani herder and the farmer, when they see, they hug themselves and say, oh, my brother. The farmer will say, when you will give me the next manure now, you will put them for this side. The other brother will say, oh, this is when the next grass is growing. We must force ourselves to think of how we can coexist. Because whether Nigeria is by mistake or by error or anyhow, it is a mistake that we must find the best out of it, because we need each other. So for organizations like us, we continue to support communities to come together. You can form yourself. We don't need you to be one big organization or big city. 5-6 people can come together. Organize yourself and say you are Mabuchi Youth Community. And you can approach an organization like us and say, this is what you want to do. You need training on this, you need training on this. It's something we'll be happy to do. Government organizations, the same thing, but we must force ourselves to think different. So we're thinking of new thinking. Solution must come from the people, and that solution must not be let us shoot the government down or let us scatter the government. We will have to find a way of coexisting and working together, because within those differences, there's a solution and there's a benefit that we must get out of it. So for organizations like us, we need proposals, we need ideas, we need conversation. It can be just one workshop where you bring youths together. It can be inspirations, because we need leaders. The truth is, we need leaders at small pockets. And the leader doesn't need to be that person that wears the crown. It can just be you in that your small group, in your trade association, in your Meruwa association. It can just be that one person that when it says, let's move this way, we'll move this way. So for organizations like us, we need new thinking. We need new leaders. We need new policy directions that will make local government be more accountable. We need framework, because we need new thinking. We've done it the old way over a long period of time, and the result has not yielded us any victory. It has brought headache, it has brought division, it has caused suspicion. So what are the new things we need to do? So as individual, what new ideas or new thinking do you have? It's something that we'll be happy to listen to.
Okay. Thank you. This is what you get when you have a lot of orators in one panel. You just anyway, so sitting in this room, what new ideas are running through your mind? What would you do differently when you get back to your community and wait for them to come? That's what I want to hear. And I'm sure a lot of other people here will also want to hear what the community people would do differently after now. Okay?
Thank you so much, Mr. Bassi. First and foremost, before I said anything, I think there is one thing we, the community members, we should take to our home. That's our various destinations, which is one thing that this my Oga at the site said. First of all, we have to grow beyond our hunger. We have to look at that future. Because if you can't grow above our hunger, we can't do this. Even the Chartered of Demand, when these politicians come, you hide it. Why? Because election is at the corner. As they are coming to campaign, that's when you see money. They will share money. Anybody that touch you, 1,000 naira note, fall into your pocket. They will see your mouth. It will even get to a stage that if someone sees you that child of demand, you have a problem with the person. They'll ask you, hide it. What are you doing with these things? So, for those of us that are here representing our communities, we should take this good message, grow beyond your hunger. That is, you have to be selfless. You have to be tribalism free. You have to be, I don't know what to say. Make yourself to be like a priority. Make this charter of demand your priority. That's have that belief that, let me do this, that I'm the only person that can do this. Like, don't do anything, don't be biased. Don't go today and go and join PDP, APC, or whatever. By the time you're doing this, I'm not saying you shouldn't support any party, no. But don't allow this to overcome your sense of reasoning. Election is at the corner. Definitely they will come plenty more to music, DJ. They will not even allow you to talk. Tell them to hold on, they will listen to you. Why? Because it's your turn. They are looking something, they are finding something from you. So it's your turn. You are the boss. Ask them to hold on. Let them get red biro. Pick like 2 if possible, 3. 4, give them 1. Let the youth leader have. Let women leader have. The traditional head. The head of the community. Let him have his own. Give them red biro. These are our charter of demand. What are you going to do for us if we elect you? Sign. When he signs his own, let him sign. You will not ask him to do the whole thing for you. It's not possible. But the one that is sure he will do it, let him sign. When he sign, you drop yours. Sign everybody about his own. You should take down to his office. After you have elected him, he win. Go to his office, remind him. You don't need to ask anybody to submit any letter. No. That charter of demand with his signature is your what? Is your letter. That very page is not possible if they ask you to submit a letter. Photocopy that page that he signed. Submit it to the office. They should give to the chairman. You want to see him. So I think this is what we should do. And again, Ruasa, I think we still have a long way to go with you. We are very, very happy. We, the community member, on behalf of myself, my colleagues that are here, we are very, very happy. And also Hip Hope, Hip City, we are very, very happy. I think the title shouldn't be echoes of the people, it should be echoes of the community. Because since we came here, we have been talking. I have been to several programs related to this, but I have never seen something real like this. Like what really happened from my door, from our door, what happened? You follow us down to our place, being with us, snap this thing, took the video. Nothing is new. I mean, what's happening real? I'm even shocked. He sent 12 exactly. Thank God some of you saw me there. I was there when they were interviewing me. So you can't say you come and frame it somewhere. No, it was me, Rich Shoaib. I've been with him close to about 1 month or so. That they were in our community. At times the account broke down, we have to go and help them up and down. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy. God will continue to bless you. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you so much. So as we close out this panel, whether you're staying in Itama or you're staying in Asokoro, Asokoro is under a local government. So we're all living in local government. But yet, we're not interested in the politics or in the government at the local level. In your own Asokoro or in your Itama, when the waste management, private waste management collectors don't come to collect waste, what do? Do you cry out? When you have potholes on your streets, do you reach out? So while we're focusing on the rural communities because they are visibly underserved, we all owe ourselves the duty to ensure that wherever we are, wherever we live, we need to start asking questions, we need to start engaging And until we do that, government would always be on the side of government and citizens would always be on the side of citizens. But we cannot allow that to fester, to linger for so long. Because the more it lingers, the more the gap. And all we're looking for is to just jump from one side to the other, and it solves no problem. Thank you very much. Okay, so I want to use this moment to put for your wonderful contribution. Your questions, they mean a lot to us. After now, this documentary will be uploaded online. It will be on our YouTube channel, Hip City Hub. If you find us on YouTube, HIPCITYHUB. And you can also follow us on all other social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's the same name, Hip City Hub. Okay, whatever the issue is or what the issues are, tag us, write to us. We would help you amplify these things, and we can always have conversation. All right. So as you go back, I wish all of us safe return back to our various places of our board. But do not leave this hall without food. We don't have anything to offer you, but we have food, and we have food in abundance. So please fill your stomach and let the conversation go with you. Do something from your corner. Let us do what we can from our corner. And when it is necessary, let us all come together to speak for each other. Because all we have at the end of the day is ourselves. Thank you very much.
What is the foundation going to do about, how is the foundation going to collaborate with probably Hip City or probably the government officials to actually provide support to these communities beyond the documentary?
Well, we've been supporting Hip City since 2018 to do exactly that work. They haven't only produced this documentary, they've been engaged in the communities, embedded themselves in those communities to really learn about the challenges of the people, and to find ways of how to address these challenges by, first of all, documenting what the challenges are in form of community charters of demand, and then taking these documents to engage the relevant decision makers, political office holders at the local government level, and to collectively find solutions to some of these challenges. And in some instances they have been successful in doing so, and I believe they will continue to do this, and we've been steadfast in our support, and
Okay,
will
so
remain.
it's basically about using the tool of media to amplify the voices of the people, basically.
Well, that's one tool that Hip City is using. So we lend our support to Hip City that is doing all of this work. We, in this case, are the funding organization of the work that Hip City does, and they use various tools. They use the media, but they also use direct engagements with the relevant stakeholders, visit offices, take people there so that they can express their concerns, needs and aspirations, and that through these conversations some of these issues can hopefully be addressed.
Okay, can we say that some of these challenges is lack of funds or mismanagement that is causing all the setback in the grassroots?
Well, I guess it's manifold challenges. It is certainly, I believe, also a lack of funding, but there are issues of transparency. At least, I mean, you just have to listen to the people that live in these communities. They will be able to tell you of many projects that have been started but never completed. And it's in many cases unclear why that is the case and what actually happened to the funds that have been allocated.
Thank you.